Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm going to get straight into it. For moisturizer, I'm just using the Benefit one. I love the consistency and the smell of this. It's amazing. So just applying that evenly all over her face. Then I'm taking the iconic London Illuminating drops and just placing that in the places I would normally highlight because I'm obsessed with these drops. They're amazing. So I'm just using a damp beauty blender to blend them all into the skin. Then taking MAC Studio Fix Foundation in NC35 with the Becca Illuminating, I think it's the Skin Perfector in Opal. Blending those two together and applying that as foundation just with a damp beauty blender. Then taking the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer in the shade Light and just placing that underneath her eyes to conceal and highlight. Then placing it on her chin, Cupid's bow, a bit on her forehead, down the bridge of her nose, and then blending it all in. Now taking the Laura Mercier translucent powder and just packing that on my damp beauty blender and just placing it directly underneath the eyes. And then to set the rest of her face, I'm taking the NARS pressed powder in the shade Beach. I've really been liking this powder lately. And yeah, just placing that all over her face. Then I'm just using the Benefit Cosmetics Browsing Palette and taking the shade on the left, it's in the shade 4, and just using that to fill in her brows. Then I'm just taking some light concealer and just using that to define the upper and lower brows. Then taking the Benefit Cosmetics 3D Brow Tones and just using that to run through her brows to set them in place. Now taking the Zoeva Cool Spectrum eyeshadow palette, I'm taking the top left, which was just a matte grey, and just using that as a transition colour in the crease with a large fluffy brush. Then I'm taking the Urban Decay Gwen Stefani palette and taking the darker grey. It's also matte, and just mainly focusing that on the outer corners of her eyes. Then taking the matte black out of the palette as well, and I'm just using that to intensify the outer corners a little bit more. Then going back in with the Zoeva Cool Spectrum palette, and I'm taking the matte white, and holy hell, this was super pigmented, and I'm placing that on the inner corners of her eyes and then just blending it out. Then just taking some translucent powder on an angled wedge and just using that to define the sides of the eyeshadow. Now taking one of the new Marc Jacobs eyeliners, it's just a cobalt blue. I'll leave the colour down below, and I'm just placing that in her waterline. Then I'm just going in with those first two grey shades that we used earlier, just on her lower lash line. Then I'm just taking a more narrow brush with the black and just really pressing that into the lower lash line. And then I go ahead to blend it with the blue out of the Urban Decay Gwen Stefani palette. Then taking Jeffree Star Cosmetics Ice Cold Highlighter and just using that for her inner corners. Then for gel liner, I'm taking the Maybelline Eye Studio in the shade Black just on my Zoeva winged liner brush and just creating a thin line on the top of her eyes. Then going in with the black again on a pencil brush and really smudging out the liner on the outer corners. Then I'm just going in and coating her lashes with some mascara and then also falsies. I can't remember which style I used, but I'll leave them listed down below as always. Then taking the Too Faced Sweethearts bronzer and placing that in the hollows of her cheeks and a little bit above just with an angled brush. Then I go ahead to place it on her temples, down the sides of her nose and jawline as well. Then taking Hoola by Benefit to contour and just placing that in the hollows of her cheekbones, her jaw, and then around her temples as well. Then just taking some translucent powder on my beauty blender just to bake underneath the contour so it looks more defined. Then taking the Peachy blush out of the Zoeva blush palette and just placing that on the apples of her cheeks. And then just finishing off the eye look with some mascara on her lower lashes. Taking an old favorite highlighter, So Hollywood by Anastasia Beverly Hills, and just placing that on the cheekbone area, Cupid's bow, down the tip and bridge of her nose as well. Then just wiping off the excess translucent powder from underneath the bake. And then to line her lips, I'm just using Cher Lip Liner by Gerard. I literally use this on pretty much every client because it is so amazing and so easy to apply. Then taking the Too Faced Melted Matte Liquid Lipstick. I'm pretty sure this one's in the shade Cool Girl. If not, I'll leave it listed down below, and just using that to fill in her lips. I thought this color complemented the eye look because it's kind of like a cool tony brown shade, and I think she pulls it off amazingly. I mean, like, what could she not pull off though? So jealous of you, girl. You're amazing. Then I'm just taking Myth by MAC and placing that in the center for a little bit of an ombre sort of feel to the lips. And then finishing off with the Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray. And that is the final look. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. And if you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up for me and subscribe to my channel for more videos. If you want to see Lily in more videos, then also let me know in the comments below. Hope you guys have an amazing day, night, wherever you are. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.